if this is Christian nationalism, I want some more. It's just like, you're like, whoa, Liberty University. The Lord has been so faithful to you guys, to the leaders who have built this university, who have raised up a generation of fighters who know what time it is, who have a little bit of that biblical testicular fortitude, that know that it's either Christian nationalism or sex cult globalism. You pick. Which one do you want? Oh, you guys are pretty uncomfortable this morning. She thought that was funny. But don't think about this seriously. Like, if you believe we shouldn't slaughter babies in the name of radical feminism, if you think that, like, Obergefell, gay marriage is like saying you support square circles, and gay marriage destroyed children's rights, and now gay thruples can go buy a poor woman's eggs, take his sperm, create a baby, or single males. Did you see that story the other day? 2 single males just created children, paid a surrogate. No background check. Oh, if you want to adopt children, you have to have a background check, parents. But if you're a single male pedophile, the only check that has to clear is the check that you write to the poor surrogate. By the way, black and brown wombs are a lot cheaper than white wombs in America. I don't know if you know that. And then they take the children home, and then they sexually abuse them. These stories are happening all around the West in America right now. So if you're like, hey, I think we should make that illegal. I don't think we should murder babies in the womb. I think gay marriage is a misnomer. Like, there actually is no such thing as gay marriage. And I think that everything Bill Federer just said should be required learning in the public school system. And what if you had to prove your membership at a Protestant church again before you could appear on the ballot? If you just believe what every Christian probably believes in America who doesn't go to Stephen Furtick or Andy Stanley's church, then I guess you're like a Christian nationalist. It's like, just mock the label, just accept it. It's either that or sex cult globalism. Which one do you want? So that's my intro. Been a long admirer of Liberty for a long time, and love Ryan and the whole work that you guys are doing here. You see, the rights and liberties we abandon today will be the rights and liberties our grandchildren never knew existed. This film, the trailer you just saw, The Last Stand, it's my next film. And it's a history of Christian resistance. And I actually believe we're in a season of the last stand. That's not red meat for the base. That's not sensationalist, hyperbolic rhetoric to try to rile you up into a frenzy to write big checks to my ministry or to Liberty. I'm saying that like quite literally, like we don't have very much time left. The kind of things we're doing in America, if you actually know history, Psalm 88 says, righteousness cannot be done in a land of forgetfulness. We live in a land of forgetfulness, don't we? And how can you know this? Because most American evangelicals will look at, Gavin Newsom-Leaney the other day, the probably gay governor of California, who just passed a law that basically, like, any adult could show up at a public school and say that they're the guardian of one of the kids if they have an affidavit showing that they tried to contact the biological parents and they didn't respond. And so now pedophiles, because there's no reason they can't just use that loophole to get kids. Anyway, my point is, like, that's one example. I could give you 50 because I'm like a weird intellectual ADHD homeschool kid. But like a normal evangelical might be like, oh my gosh, I've never seen that before. That's unprecedented. That's crazy. No, it's not. You're just stupid. Okay? You just read too many Rick Warren, Russell Moore, and Christianity Yesterday articles and books. Christianity Today, sorry. It's a Freudian slip. It's when you say one thing but mean your mother. And you look at that and you're like, no, that's not a new concept at all. The state thinking that they're a better parent to your kids than you are, that's not a new idea. We live in a land of forgetfulness. I think most of the reason we have such a flatulent and impotent church in the West and in the 21st century in America today is because we have forgotten who we are. We've forgotten the great legacy that we've been given, the great mantle that's been handed down to us, the mantle of Christian resistance, which today they call Christian nationalism. But like resisting the evils of your day, politically and culturally in the public square, historically, was just called Christianity. Okay? Like, duh! Some historians think that the concept of childhood was invented by Christianity. Did you know that? The whole idea that there's a childhood era and phase of life, and that innocence needs to be protected, and that children have the same rights They're just as valuable as any adult male. You can thank Christianity for that. Before Christianity begins to turn the world right side up, children were routinely sexually abused, enslaved. In ancient Rome, a child wasn't even viewed to be a person or a member of the family that created them unless the father decided to accept the child he created into the home and say, I'm your father. So children were routinely abandoned on trash piles outside of ancient Roman city walls. And they called those, they called them high places. Anyone read the Old Testament? Or have you been going to Andy Stanley's church? Are you unhitched from the Old Testament? You know that idiot said that a few years ago? We have to unhitch ourselves from the Old Testament. No, he literally said that. By the way, where did that end? How did Andy Stanley's story end? They now use pronouns and respect the gender identity of children in the kids' church at North Point Bible Church in Atlanta. Yeah, so that's how that story ended. So he goes, we have to unhitch ourselves from the Old Testament because it's so offensive to the pagan Democrats who are visiting my church on Sunday if I preach from the Old Testament. Yeah, you can't understand the New Testament if you don't read the Old Testament, you idiot, Andy Stanley, okay? So for those of you guys here, because Liberty is awesome, who actually read the whole Bible, you're like, oh wait, high places, I've heard of that before. That's right, that's where they did orgy sex cult worship. Have you heard of the Asherah poles? Or have you heard of Ishtar or Ashtoreth? Yeah, they worshiped her through orgies. Just Sodom all over again, putting things in places you shouldn't, God, I'm going to kill you all, right? Just wipe you all out, flood it all. Okay, so that's how they worshiped that, and they would do it on places called high places. What happens when you live like that? If it feels good, do it, sexual liberation. What happens when you live like that? It's not a trick question. Babies. I told you it was simple, it wasn't a trick question. Yeah, you start having sex with everything, and then people get pregnant, and you're like, oh my gosh, so consent to sex is consent to pregnancy. I was speaking to a lesbian majoring in lesbian dance theory at UC Berkeley a couple years ago. And that's actually a major, by the way. It literally is. That's why we need Christian nationalism, by the way. And I told her, consent to sex is consent to pregnancy. And she said, no, it's not. And because I was homeschooled, I said, well then, consent to eating Krispy Kreme donuts for every meal for 10 years is not consent to obesity. Those were the homeschoolers that just laughed, by the way. And she looked at me, have you seen that meme of the woman with the math figures flying by her head? And she's like, that's how she looked, I think she had dyed her hair pink. And so she said, okay, consent to sex is not consent to pregnancy, Seth, but consent to sex is consent to the possibility of pregnancy. And I said, oh, girl, that's the same thing, and you know it, But okay, what was my point, though, in that story? Is there's a relationship between the thing that you were doing and the thing that happened. You start having sex with everything, and then as long as have you seen The Office? It's it doesn't work, So, so it's not that way, obviously, because Pete Buttigieg can't actually procreate, what I'm saying? Oh, by the way, you want to know how disgusting, distorted, dark, and demonic the war on the family can get, which is none of it's new, right? That's my film, The Last Stand, is coming out in Denver at our Last Stand event on June 6th. Nothing's been done like this film since Francis Schaeffer's How Should We Then Live? So it's true that nothing is new that we're seeing. There's another homeschooler. But there are aspects of the war on the family now that are new. It's still the redefinition of the family, but there's certain aspects of it that you can't make sense of because of big fertility, third-party reproductive technologies. So I just talked about this on my show, by the way. If you're enjoying this right now, either you hate me and you're like, get this guy off the stage, he's never speaking at Convocation, or you're all about to go rush and subscribe to my podcast, The Seth Gruber Show. So check it out, give it a subscription, let us know what you think. But we just did an episode on this in Oregon. Guess what they just did? Now, Pete Buttigieg, because him and Chasen both want to be daddies. It's not fair. Nature is a bigot. Nature is a bigot because the babies, so that's not fair. Mother Gaia is a bigot, right? Mother Nature is a bigot. So, and the Romantics understood this, French Revolutionary era, like Percy Shelley, all these, Lord Byron, these, freaking weirdos. They understood that the way that you rewrite culture is you go back to the origins of culture and you rewrite it. Genesis 1, 2, 3, right? So now guess what they can do? Take Pete Buttigieg's sperm, take whatever his fake partner's husbands can't have husbands, so whatever he actually is, and then take his skin cell, and then remove the nucleus of the skin cell, then go buy some poor woman's egg, female gamete, remove the nucleus of the female oocyte, take Pete Buttigieg's sodomite partner's skin cell nucleus and replace it in the female oocyte's nucleus. So it's a male chromosomed female oocyte. And then take that male chromosomed female oocyte and Pete Buttigieg's sperm, and they just created like 7 embryos in Oregon, like image bearers of God, like actual human beings that biologically don't even have a mother. So chromosomally, now the gays can be like, we can literally both be daddies. How does that happen in a Christian nation? Because of a flatulent, castrated church that cares more about accolades and attaboys from the culture and back rubs from the Biden administration than pure and undefiled religion, righteousness, and putting a smile on the face of Christ. Men don't follow titles, they follow courage. And we need to literally, the leaders of yesterday won't be the leaders of tomorrow. And you guys are going to be the future that replaces the Russell Moores, the Rick Warrens. By the way, how do you know a coward? When Klaus Schwab invites a pastor on his private jet to go to Davos every year. There's a reason why Rick Warren is invited to Davos every year for the World Economic Forum. By the way, how is Klaus Schwab like literally a Bond villain? How does he look like he should literally just be in a Bond movie? It's so interesting that they never invite Jack Hibbs. It's so interesting. Like Gary Hamrick never gets invited to Davos. I wonder, maybe because the former are hirelings and the latter can't be bought. There's a reason why David Frenchy French has a weekly op-ed in the New York Times and Eric Metaxas does not. There's a reason why Russell Moore is MSNBC's Phone a Christian and Vodi Bakum was not. Because the former are hirelings and the latter can't be bought. I guess, what am I trying to tell you? Because you're probably like, wow, this talk's going all over the place. I guess I'm trying to say, unless the church flatulent becomes the church militant, it will become the church irrelevant. And everyone's like, oh, militant? Is that like, no, that's not like AR-15s, although I'm saving up for my next one. But my next 2, actually. But I meant like militant for righteousness, militant for the kingdom of God. Okay. So, pretty crazy, huh? What's going on? You're like, I don't have a category for that. Yeah, that's because of the castrated, flatulent pulpits of America, who have traded their birthright for a bowl of porridge and have ceased to be shepherds, who sometimes have to pick up staffs and whack Russell Moores on the head. It's like, that's not very Christ-like, Seth. I don't really like how you're talking right now at Standing for Freedom Center. It's not very loving. We were told to love our enemies. I'm not really feeling that from you right now, Seth. They will know we are Christians by our love. And that I'm not really feeling that from you right now, Seth. I'm really triggered. Okay, listen. This is part of the reason why we need everyone in classical Christian academies all the way through 12th grade. So this is actually really important. So the word, love our enemies. Okay, the word enemy in the Bible actually has 2 different meanings whose definitions are completely different. This is super important. Might be one of the most important things I tell you, okay? In Latin, it is hostis, meaning public enemy. So that's like the enemy of the state or the enemy of mankind, okay? The other word is inimicus, which means a private enemy, a personal foe, a personal antagonist, the annoying woman in HR, the person at school who bullies you, like a personal antagonist. And in the Greek New Testament, you see the same difference in how the word enemy is used. And this is lost on us in the English translation. So polemis in the Greek New Testament is a public enemy. That's the Greek word for the public enemy, polemis. And it's derived from the word for war. Echthros is a private enemy, and echthros is the word for enemy in Matthew 5:43. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. It refers to personal antagonists. This distinction is completely and totally lost in the English translations, where both words are simply translated as enemy. Do you see the implications for the church? Oh, those implications are massive. For the church in America and our castrated pastors who almost never lift a finger to defend their people from enemies. When Christ commands us to love our enemies, he uses the word for private enemy. The Christian is never commanded to love the barbarian horde storming the city gates or threatening to destroy your civilizations and the freedoms that they hide behind. We understand this enemy distinction at the level of our home and our family and our schools, don't we? Like when someone breaks into your home and wants to steal your guns and rape your wife. Like, dude, you're getting a bullet in the head. Like, we understand that distinction at that level. But extrapolate that to the city, the county, the state, and the national level. Christian, you are not called to love. They will know we are Christian. You do not want the enemies of mankind to know you by your sweet, castrated, toxic empathy love. You want them to fear you. Because if they do not fear you, they will not hesitate to hide behind the freedoms that others bled and died to give you and weaponize those against you to kill your babies, steal your children, sexually mutilate the next generation, and eventually make evangelism illegal. Did you listen to my brother Andrew Cedra last night? We have to learn how to love and hate correctly again. Oh boy, 3.5 minutes left. Okay, I guess I'm saying I'm not interested in the constitutional rights of people who have declared war on me, my country, and the very freedoms that they hide behind. Oh, that was not very nice to say. Don't we need more people here? Don't we need more immigrants? Not if they're going to hide behind the freedoms that allow them to be here. Like if we had illegal foreign nationals doing the same kinds of behaviors that many legal citizens on the left are doing to America, we would deport them immediately. And now we have citizens here who hide behind citizenship and are doing violence, domestic terrorism, fundamentally declaring war on this country. I'm sorry, is this controversial? I want them gone. Okay? We just need to take the left's playbook and mimic it for righteousness, I guess is what I'm saying. Okay, what else do we want to talk about? All human conflict is ultimately theological. Do not allow the left or, the big Eva, big evangel. You've heard of big pharma and there's big Eva, big evangelicalism. Go listen to some of my conversations with Megan Basham. Go buy her book, Shepherds for Sale. Do not let your evangelical credential betters tell you to just preach the gospel while the culture burns down around you. Because those issues, the war on the family primarily, are the issues that have most of us freaked out. Abortion, the trans stuff, the removal of parental rights, like all this insanity. Those are fundamentally Genesis 1 through 3 issues. Those are theological, spiritual issues, okay? So as you guys are, getting ready to be Christian nationalists, like culture war, pro-life ninjas, as you leave liberty, okay, remember that. Remember what I told you. All human conflict is ultimately theological. Those who celebrate murdering babies so they can have orgasms without responsibility will not hesitate to celebrate murdering those who threaten their decadent, orgasmic lifestyle. And the patristics understood this. That lust or passion, when fully grown, gives birth to death. James 1:15. Passion, when fully grown, gives birth to death. Sexual passion, freed from all restraint, quickly degenerates into passion of a bloodier sort. Margaret Sanger said, our ultimate objective is unlimited sexual gratification without the burden of unwanted children. So, unlimited sex gratification. And eventually we're going to have to kill the babies, the unwanted little non-persons that are the product of our sexual choices. It's Judges 6 all over again. Judges 6, Gideon, angel of the Lord, tells him, go tear down the Asherah poles and the Baal statues. Sex cult orgy worshiping, Ishtar. 9 months later, you got a problem, pass the child through the fire to Baal. So sexual liberation and child sacrifice, those two sins have been linked since time immemorial. As it was in Judges 6, so it is today. What are the two pagan gods of the West and of America today, if not weird sex cult, like things where like, well, I don't have a category for that, and sacrificing children? Wake up, church! It's just Judges 6 all over again. I'm not political. I just bought Andy Stanley's new book, Not In It to Win It. Yeah, when my wife and I run out of toilet paper at the house, we pull our old Andy Stanley and Rick Warren books. Like that's, do you know what I'm saying? Oh, that wasn't very nice. I like this line from Spurgeon. He said, bold-hearted men are always called mean-spirited by cowards. Doug Wilson said, desperate times call for faithful men and not for the careful men. The careful men come later and write the biographies of the faithful men, lauding them for their courage. So the question for you, my brothers and sisters of Gen Z, man, I'm excited about Gen Z. You're either like full tranny, like furry porn, or you're like Christian nationalists, tear down the high places. Like, millennials suck. My generation sucks. Like, millennials just give up on us. But Gen Z, it's either one pendulum or the other, and I'm kind of like, go that way, go to the right, and then find Jesus and Aslan on the field of battle. You know what I'm talking about? Shoot, I went over my time. I got to go. So I'm doing a conference in D.C. the day before the March for Life. It's called Life or Death Con. The day before the March for Life, Life or Death Con, we've got Nolene Cedra, Andrew's wife. She's a Spitfire. Abby Johnson, Steve Dace, Megan Basham, Dr. George Grant, and others. If you go to lifeordeathcon.com, and we might have a QR code, lifeordeathcon.com, see us at our table. If you sign up today you get a free t-shirt at our White Rose table in the foyer, and students are 50% off. So lifeordeathcon.com, we're tearing down the high places, and we're giving God a reason to show America mercy. In the meantime, I'll see you on the battlefield. Now go out there and give them heaven, will you?